welcome to Uplevel Your Life with Mindy. I am your host, Mindy Duff, and I am super excited to have a guest with me today, Emily Hanna from Hanna Valley Protein. And we are going to be chatting about, well, protein powder, obviously, but so much more than protein powder. So Emily, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mindy.
Awesome. And just so everybody kind of knows a little bit about you, Emily, along with her husband, Brett, they are the co-founders of Hanna Valley Protein, and it's a protein powder. She enjoys not only making a quality protein powder for her customers to enjoy, but she also enjoys educating others on living healthy, which if you follow her on social media at all, she's always got all these lovely little tips and tricks that, sometimes have something to do with protein powder, but a lot of the time, you're focused on just health and wellness, just overall health and wellness things. And that's, as a health and wellness person or somebody that likes that, I love following your page and eating your protein powder, but we'll get to that later. But I know that you weren't always so interested in health and wellness. Is this correct?
That is correct. Yes. Not my background at all.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your health journey and what led you to this point of being so knowledgeable and passionate about sharing it with others. So how did we get here?
Sure. Yeah. It's a great question. So about in 2015, I had my little girl, and right after I had her, I just started having a lot of issues. Pains started in different places, and my toes were tingly, my fingers were tingly, and that's how the numbness really kind of how it started. And then it just turned into pretty severe pain. It was about 6 months of just no answers, going to different doctors and specialists and just stuff, and nobody could find anything. I ended up I continued getting pink eye. And it really wasn't pink eye. So they kept giving me different things, stronger things, and it wasn't working. And so that's what ultimately led me to finding out that I had lupus. So yeah, in the process, my vision started going in my left eye also. So they sent me to an ophthalmologist, and I had a tumor in my left eye. My face was like just severe burning rash. I don't know how else to describe it, but to take a shower was just brutal. I couldn't wear makeup or lotion or anything like that. So fast forward, they had gotten me an appointment with a rheumatologist. They said it would take like 3 months to get into, and I didn't know that I could make it. I was wearing braces everywhere. I couldn't sleep because the pain was so bad, and I was trying to take care of 2 little ones at home. My husband was on the road all the time at the time, so that was really hard. I ended up starting to watch documentaries, and I remember, I think it was like That Sick and Nearly Dead was the first one I watched.
That's a great one.
It is. I was like, whoa, okay, there might be something to this. I watched What the Health. I watched Forks Over Knives. All the different things out there, and I was just mind blown how such information is not just the norm,
Right.
And so I did this like random experiment, and I started the day I went to the ophthalmologist. I started juicing, eating fruits, vegetables, and potatoes for like 2 weeks. I was like, I'll try it. I can do anything for 2 weeks. And I couldn't believe how much my pain had subsided. It wasn't 100% gone, but just everything I was dealing with had improved so much in such a short period of time. I went back to the ophthalmologist, and he looked in my eye, and he's like, there's no remnants of the tumor in your eye. He's like, I don't understand. What have you been doing? What did you do? And I told him, he's like, that's unheard of. He's like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, and I don't need to see you again. And I was like, okay. So yeah,
That's amazing.
it was neat. And I just overhauled everything. I started with pots and pans. I started with just like the daily things, our toothpaste, which led me to my husband's protein powder, which I was absolutely mortified once I learned more about what was in that and what's in so many of the commercial brands you find today.
Yeah. And I want to back up. You said so many just fascinating things in this whole little, I just want to bring a little bit more awareness to.
Sure.
So you were diagnosed with lupus.
Mm-hmm.
So for listeners that just aren't quite familiar, I'm sure most people have heard of it, but it's an autoimmune disease. So can you tell us just a little bit for the person that has no clue, what's lupus? What are we talking about?
Sure. So I'm going to be 100% honest. I was diagnosed with it through my doctor. The rheumatologist is who confirms all diagnoses. And for a long time, I was really stuck on that. Like I needed a name, a word for it. And once I started feeling so much better and just started healing my body, which I didn't even know was possible, I didn't feel that need for that anymore. Because by the time the 3 months came up, I just canceled my appointment. I was like, I knew the steps that would be taken. I had researched it. I knew what the answer would be, and I really struggled with a lot of the medications. And I'm not saying that this is for everyone. This is just my story, please. So,
Yes.
but so much of the steroids and the medications affected your organs, which was the reason you're taking them, because lupus attacks your organs, it was attacking my eyes at the time. And so it just didn't make sense. And so that's why, it's an autoimmune disease. It affects people differently. For myself, it was like hard to walk. I had like lightning bolts going down my legs. My worst pain was probably my wrists, and then like the back of my neck and my shoulder. I couldn't hold my baby. It was really hard, but I had to, at the time. And so it was a super dark time for me, for sure. And to have been in pain for so long and not, I was just like, why didn't somebody just say, hey, try your diet, and it's also hard to stomach and hard to accept that I'm not saying that like my diet choices were all and everything that contributed to it, but it's hard to stomach that I was making the choices that were putting me in the situation I was in. And so that's when it became like, yes, we started creating the protein powder because it's one of our daily things. And I just could not find a better alternative that was somewhat affordable. And so I just did kind of like an overhaul just of everything.
Wow. Yeah. And like you say, why didn't somebody tell me this? Right. And that's, that's what we're doing here today, and spreading the word that, when you have health conditions, and you kind of alluded to, this is your story. And so you didn't want to go the route of the, steroids and the, drugs necessarily, if you didn't have to. Some people might prefer that, or some people might need both to feel optimal. And that's, thank God modern medicine exists, and it is what it is. But there's so much more power that we have over our own bodies just by the choices that we make, whether it's the food that we're putting in our mouth, whether we're moving our bodies or not. And then you even mentioned like your pots and pans, switching out the Teflon.
Yes. Cleaning supplies. I mean, I didn't wear makeup for like a year when I was trying to really do everything I needed to do to get to the point. Cause like I said, it was low. It was pretty bad. So I was willing to do some pretty drastic things that we consider drastic, which are just silly compared to what the alternative was. But and it's just made me a huge advocate. Like I hope people buy our protein powder if they use protein powders, even if they just like a superfood type thing. I don't like calling it that because I don't love the phrase or whatever. But I just want to be a huge advocate for people. Like start questioning things if you're in pain or if you're having struggles. And we compartmentalize, I don't have lupus, I have this, or I have this autoimmune disease, so it's not the same. And let me tell you, when the things start healing, you don't have control over what that is. And so there were things I'd had for years, and I never thought would go away. And
our bodies are, one whole connected thing. It's not that, you have something wrong with your head, you have headaches all the time. That's totally unrelated to my stomach problems that I have. No, it's somehow it's all connected because it's all part of you, right? You're all one unit. So whenever there's one thing that goes wrong, a lot of times, and you probably can think of, we all listening can think of someone that we know, probably multiple people that had something wrong, and then suddenly they had 10 things wrong because the dominoes just start falling. Once this isn't working optimally. Well, then this can't function properly. And then you have this diagnosis and that diagnosis, and now you got something wrong here. And it just kind of snowballs. But again, like you say, we get that control back by looking at, well, what are our options for what can we do about it? You eat every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And healthy, there's some healthy food that everyone likes. You know what I mean? Like there's something that you find delicious out there that's healthy. So start there, eat more of it, then see what happens. Right.
Absolutely. I put a piece of spinach on my daughter's plate for a solid year without her touching it. She finally started eating it, and that's her favorite vegetable. It's like, just got to stay consistent and just keep trying,
Yep, absolutely. So protein powder. Now you mentioned all these things that you did. So you were cleaning up your diet, switching out your pans, all your cleaning supplies, kind of turning to a more healthy way of living and eating. And then I know your husband in particular was the one, were you eating the protein powder too, or was it more him?
It was all him. Yeah, that was at the time. But at the same time, he really thinks I like went off the deep end at this point, right? So I told him, you look at these ingredients. Like I looked them up, and I didn't there's so much I didn't know about protein powders. There's nothing that checks anything in them. Like the things that are in them aren't even like food. They're not even edible, but somehow they can turn it into this concoction. And it's just dumbfounding to me. So anyway, so then he's, I need muscle, gains, things like that. Like what I've learned is if your body altogether is just running optimally, the gains that you can make, and no matter what you're looking to do, whether you're looking to lose weight, whether you're looking to gain muscle, whether you're just wanting something nutritious during the day, it all comes back to that. And so I really wanted to make something that worked for him, but also that I could enjoy, that my kids could enjoy. And so we used it for a couple of years before we never really anticipated it turning into what it has, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool that it just was something that you wanted, like just for yourself, like, well, this isn't working. We'll just make our own. And then it's kind of snowballed from there, I guess. So tell me a little, I guess I don't know this part of the story. How did that even happen, that you went from just whipping it up in your kitchen for yourselves to producing for the masses?
Oh my gosh, I would spend hours just, I don't know why I never thought of getting a bigger one, but those little tiny coffee grinders, I would grind all of it. It's just, I just think back and I'm like, the time I wasted. Anyway, it was such a process that I learned. And so I had really, my whole time throughout this time, I normally don't journal, but I did start journaling, and my faith is a huge part of my healing also. I prayed daily that God would turn my experience. I knew that I would be healed. There wasn't ever a doubt in my mind. It was more like when, and how could I turn it into something that, one, could help other people, but two, help me financially contribute to my own family. And so it's kind of what I prayed for and prayed for and prayed for. And, for a long time I was getting so frustrated because it's like, I feel like I have so much to offer and I don't know how to offer it. Nobody wanted to hear me say, hey, you need to eat better so you feel better. Nobody likes hearing that. So, it was like the protein's like my gateway, but it just kind of turned into, my husband, who was like the big protein buff, creatine, like all the things, was like, if you can make me a believer of this, I really feel like you could do that for anybody. And that one phrase, I don't know why it stuck with me so deeply, but I was just like, that is so true, because my husband was the epitome of like protein, you know what I mean? Or like that market or whatever. And I just couldn't, for him to make that switch.
He was a pretty big into weightlifting, right?
Yes. I didn't verbalizing that very well, but yes, he just, so that really made an impact on me, but it's not like it just like appeared and everything started. It was like quite a process and journey, and there's no like map to figuring it out. And so it's been fun. I say it was like, I have everything figured out. I have nothing figured out. I just keep moving forward very slowly.
Right. And I think this is why I just love your story so much, just for the fact, it's such a great health story where, hey, I have this physical debilitating condition. And then I feel so much like a totally different person. I'm eating differently and whatever. But then, the fact on the business side of it, that you just intuitively knew that there was a way that you could help others with this. And then to just, that patience and, being open to, what is it? What am I supposed to be doing? And then kind of going down that path with just blind faith. That's an amazing part of this story as well. So I just love it. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about this protein powder. Now, for anyone that's listening, obviously I'm going to put the links for Emily's protein powder in the appropriate places. Don't feel that you have to buy from Emily's, but I will tell you, as a holistic health and nutrition coach, this is one of the things I get asked like a ton, like, what kind of protein powder am I supposed to eat? Because a lot of people are aware, like you say, there's a lot of just crap out there. I mean, if you're getting your protein powder at Walmart, stop it. Just stop it. You needed somebody to tell you, go up to your cupboard and throw it away right now. I'm telling you, I'm the one telling, go do it, because it's terrible, just like Emily says. But first of all, does everybody have to have protein powder?
No, and it's just, it's like, it's such a, I'm never a salesperson. I will never be like, I think it makes me easy for me to do this because it is a part of me. Like, I don't feel like I'm selling something to people. I feel like I can help them make a better option. I think everything in it is good for anybody to have regardless. What I say is it is super nutrient dense, full of amazing stuff that just so happens to also be high in protein. So it's a win-win.
Yes.
But no, you don't. I hadn't, like I said, had never taken it before. I started using it just because when I switched my lifestyle, I started noticing I wasn't getting enough calories. And smoothies are such a great way to get it. Just, I love starting my day, like for my kids, with 2 vegetables, 3 fruits, and then a scoop of protein powder. I'm like, okay, they have a solid start to the day. And it's just a really easy way to boost that. I put it in yogurt, I put in oatmeal, I bake with it. It just, anything you can do to get that extra nutrition.
Yeah. And I'm kind of the same as you. I know some people like really just feel like they have to have it, and good for you. You can have it. If you're someone who's never tried it before, you can live the rest of your life and never try it, and you'll be fine. You're not going to die like 10 years earlier because you never tried protein powder. But there are a lot of ways that you can use it. Before we get into that though, tell us what is in your protein powder, or what's not.
Yeah. Well, both. So all of our protein powders right now, we have 3 flavors. We have cinnamon, vanilla, and chocolate. We just finished our exclusive like fall flavor. We had pumpkin spice, and we have a winter one coming up as soon as I can do that, because it's just like a one-man show over here, which isn't going to last much longer. But we use 5 ingredients in all of them. And so we use all organic hemp seed, pumpkin seed, flax seed. Like our chocolate is cacao powder. For our sweetener, I think it's really important to know we use a small amount of coconut sugar. It has a lower glycemic index. It retains other like healthy minerals that your body can use and absorb easily. So that's why we've chosen that sweetener. What it does not have is like stevia, which I know it's hard when you're trying to make better choices and you get these health lingo or words and like, oh, stevia, it's not sugar, so it must be great. And I had done the same thing. And you do a quick search on, Dr. Google, and they tell you the same. And so I was getting headaches and stuff then, and which ended up finding out it goes through like this chemical extraction process, even if it started out as organic stevia. When I first started creating our protein powder, that was what I thought I could use, the raw stevia leaf. I was like, oh, then it hasn't been extracted. Gross. I don't know if you've ever had it, but it's like sweet, but it's got this awful bitter aftertaste that no matter what I did, I could not make it taste good. So it does not have any sweeteners like that, or natural flavors and artificial flavors. Natural is not anything but natural, and that's in a lot of processed foods and health foods that are out there and marketed. So you can take a look into that. It can be up to like 200 different ingredients, and I think maybe 1 out of all 200 have to be something derived from like a plant or animal. Otherwise it's just a hodgepodge of just junk. So
yeah. Yep.
We don't put any like gums or anything like that. The xanthan gums and a lot of things, which can be really binding to your digestive system. There's just a lot, because we haven't gone the commercial route and the big like co-packer route, because we really want to stay true to our formula, and to be able to do that, they want to change things to help keep powder together and add oils and add the gums. And that's just not something we're willing to compromise. So
yeah. So just so everybody caught that,
yeah.
You are the one that is mixing this
yes
up. Not in your coffee grinder anymore though, right?
No. No, we have a commercial kitchen now that we use in Des Moines, and then kind of secret, I don't know, we're hoping possibly that we can get it in the works to where we can create our own commercial kitchen here on our property. So
that would be amazing.
And have a little extra prayer for me if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking, but
I'm sure.
I really believe this is like in my heart what I'm supposed to be doing. So makes me feel like it's unstoppable, even if it's slow.
Yeah, yes. And isn't that life, right? And I so appreciate your commitment to producing this same quality product, because like you say, as you get bigger, I follow you on social media, and it's so fun to see every once in a while when you're in this store now. Oh, now you're in this store, and there you can buy it so many places now. And I remember when you were first starting, it was just online, or when you would do local deliveries, and that was kind of it.
Like under like Facebook message me like on the black market of like protein to get
the black market of protein powders.
Yes.
But it would be so easy for you to just say, okay, well, we're getting bigger. We'll pass it off to this bigger company that's going to package it for us. And they're going to add a little bit of stuff to it, but it's not going to be that bad. But you're not doing that. You're saying, no, we're committed to, this is what it is. It needs to be made this way. And as a consumer, I really appreciate that. I appreciate that it only has, is it 5 ingredients? Isn't that? Yeah. I mean, that's what I tell my clients. I don't care about nutrition facts by and large, right?
Yeah.
When you're grocery shopping, you're deciding whether to buy something or not. Don't look at the nutrition facts. I don't care. Look at the ingredients. What are you actually eating? That's more important to know. And what I tell them is, can you pronounce it? Mm-hmm. And your ingredients, you obviously can put coconut sugar. Yeah. And does it sound like something real, like that you could have in your own kitchen and make if you knew how the recipe? Yes, absolutely. We could all make this at home if we knew the right ratios and how to do it. But who has the time and wants to learn that? So it's much easier just to order from you. And it tastes good too, which I appreciate, because I know I have tried many a protein powder that looked promising and did not pass the taste test. So, and then you're stuck with like a 5-pound thing of protein powder. Now I know we touched on this a little bit. So smoothies, an easy way to get to use the protein powder, but there are a lot of other ways. I know you share some recipes and things once in a while, or just a picture. So if someone's like, well, I don't really do smoothies, but I'm kind of interested in protein powder, what are some ways that you've used it?
Sure. So my husband's a smoothie guy. I'll have one occasionally. My daughter's obsessed with them, but I like putting it in like oatmeal. I'm a sprinkler. I kind of sprinkle in anything. People will be like, well, I need a specific recipe for it. Okay. All I do is throw in a scoop or two into something. And then if it needs more liquid, I add some water. Like, I don't know. I'm also not like a stellar baker. So, but it's just really easy. You can use it in anything. And that's what I tell people. If you buy it and you don't love it in smoothies, don't throw the bag away. Throw it into some black bean brownies. Throw it into some cookies. There's so many ways you can use it. That's just so good for you. And the kids don't even know what's in it. So
yeah. I love, like we used to the black bean brownies, or little like energy balls with like the granola. Like there's a lot of recipes out there that call for protein powder in some of these different little treat type things that we think of, like after school snacky type stuff, or even a dessert for someone. But you throw that protein powder in, and now you've just kind of ramped up the health factor on it. It's going to be a lot more nutritionally dense, with more good things in it for you. So I think that's great. Yeah, we do all those same things at our house too. So I love hearing all about the protein powder and your story and everything. And before we go, Emily, I do want to ask you, because I know you're so into just health and wellness in general and not just pushing the protein powder, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious, what would be your top 3 things that you think everybody could do to improve their health?
Oh my gosh. You don't feel like it's everything all at once. It's so overwhelming. And when I get overwhelmed, I shut down and then I end up doing nothing,
Yep.
So for example, for me, meat was a thing that I couldn't have, that was just really negatively impacted me. It might not do that to everybody. But so what I started even doing for my family is if I would make tacos, I had a pound of ground beef, I would throw in a half a bag of cauliflower rice. Not only did it bulk it up, but it gave it, just like more vegetables that nobody even knew that were in it, or in spaghetti sauce or things like that. I'm allergic to wheat, which I found out in the process, but I think that's kind of a bonus just for my family because it's so causes so much inflammation and things like that. So just little things like that. Switch. I don't know if you've ever heard of the minimalist baker, but she was my like go-to person because she makes all the stuff that like meatloaf or all your home cooked things that like you love, or different recipes, and then she has ways that like keep it 10 ingredients and or less, nice. 30 minutes or less ish, and you can kind of make healthier versions of your food. She's like huge, and I don't know her or anything about her. She's just a resource that I used. I just started yesterday, which seems silly, but like I feel like I climbed over a mountain. I got recipes, like a recipe blog on my website. So I have 1 recipe on it right now. So definitely go check that. But yeah, just making your own Reese's like peanut butter cup type things, protein powder with like 3 ingredients, there's just so many ways. And like you said, the ingredients are so important. Shopping outside of the store rather than shopping inside the store is a big one. Or like in the middle with all the
perimeter. Yeah.
My kids just got home from school. I'll be out in a minute, sweetheart. Thank you. Thanks. So it's a family business for sure, where everybody's kind of all involved, but just little steps, baby steps. Get rid of pop. If pop is in your life, like cut down to 1, or I can't tell you when I switched from pop, that was like all I drank constantly. And I would just like start chugging tea. I would make herbal tea, I sometimes add like honey or things like that, or maple syrup or whatever. But I swear half of it would be like the sweetener, trying to chug down the tea. But now I don't even eat it. Or we fry our vegetables on the grill till they were like black and dipped them in ketchup. That was like my attempt at eating vegetables, so just baby steps for sure.
Yeah, as long as you're doing something, that's a win, right?
Absolutely.
I just had this conversation with some clients just over the weekend about the more good things that you add in, like that counts, right?
Yes,
like
it does.
And I actually probably do a whole podcast episode on that right there, or just any little bit. So like you say, I love when you were talking about being overwhelmed and then you do nothing. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so many. And if you follow like nutrition in like the media, it's like one day this food's good, the next day it will kill you. And it's so hard to keep up with, it's just like you say, overwhelming. And then you're like, well, I might as well just order a pizza and dive into this bag of chocolate chip cookies. Like, cause it's, everything kills me anyway. Right.
Exactly.
But if you just start little changes, kind of like you say, like adding in the cauliflower rice or whatever it is for you, just little baby steps, bit by bit, and start building that. I love that idea. That's a lot more sustainable for people and less overwhelming, and you'll be more successful. So
it's all emotional habits.
Yes.
It's so much more of that than anything else. So
you hit the nail on the head for sure.
But that's hard. It's not just, mental, like, holy cow, it's hard to rewire all of that, like your whole life, your whole lifestyle.
But possible, completely possible. Absolutely. To do all of that. So Cool. Well, Emily, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. I so enjoy your story and everything that your whole business is about. I just love it all. Again, I will put appropriate links for Emily and all Emily things in all the appropriate places, whether you're listening to this as a podcast or watching on YouTube. So if you have more questions for Emily, you can hook her up that way. Again, I know all these things that you're talking about. It's so crazy, but like at the end of the podcast is when it like kind of sifts down to the bottom of my brain. I'm like, I should be doing that more too. Right. We just talked about all these things.
Yeah.
I need to remember, I need to get my juicer back out. I need to do some of this too.
Yeah.
So thank you again so much for being here with us today. And again, if you're listening, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will be back soon with another fantastic episode for you.